phone a gut-wrenching shock, unable to believe she was hearing a dial tone. "No," she whispered, a panic that she knew was irrational starting to take over. "No, you can't." She scrabbled desperately in her purse, hoping for one more quarter. Nothing. With a sob, she upended the whole thing on the pavement, pawing through a tangled mess of makeup, jewelry, credit cards, and odd bits of paper, praying for a quarter, a dime, anything. Then she heard the sound, a kind of growl, and looked up, and the scream died in her throat before she could utter it. "What?" Derek Kestrel half closed his lids against the wind that was drying his eyes and gathered breath for another bellow. "I said," Deke yelled, trying to make himself audible over the bellow of the Trans Am's engine and the painfully howling guitars of motley crew, "I can't hear you." Fay Harper shook her head, her blonde shag whipping wildly about her cheekbones. Her hair looked like spun frost under the fluorescent street lamps. Her pale skin glowed in the moonlight, and her eyes were turned to crimson embers by the reflections from the panel lights. "I can't hear you," she screamed back, turning the volume up another notch until the Trans Am's floor panels shook from the bass. Deke sighed and gave up, leaning back into the padded headrest of his seat. It was custom leather upholstered, of course, in deep burgundy to match the rest of the car. Fay Harper was never seen in less than the very best. Nothing was going to compete with those speakers. Nothing natural, anyway. A B-52 at full throttle, maybe. Hanging out with Fay was hazardous to the eardrums. He wished now he'd brought earplugs or something. First had been the concert, front row seats. Now it was Fay's ass-kicking stereo. He was going to be deaf before the night was over. Then again, hanging out with Fay Harper was hazardous to a lot more than the eardrums. The Trans Am tore down Memorial, Fay daring anything to pull into her path. Deke squinted against the headlights of the oncoming cars, assessed his blood alcohol level by how fuzzy they looked, and came up with an answer the parental unit wouldn't like. It was a good thing his dad couldn't see him now. Hell, it was a good thing his dad hadn't seen the concert. Well, Deke hadn't shared anything but the bottle Fay'd brought. Grass had been the mildest of the recreational pharmaceuticals making the rounds tonight. Funny, Dad may have been a wild-eyed hippie back when he was Deke's age, but he didn't know the half of what went on these days. Deke said the word concert, and he could almost see nostalgic visions of Woodstock drifting through his dad's mind in a sunshine-golden, artistically backlit haze. The summer of love. Peace pop. Like it's a happening. Oh, wow. He laughed out loud, and Fay gave him a funny look, then cranked the stereo up the last notch. His whole body throbbed and vibrated with the song. He could feel the amplifier overheating. Or maybe the heat he felt was the effect of her hand sliding up his leg. There was a drunken howl from the back seat, and Sandy Foster, football bohunk extraordinaire, leaned forward and handed them both cold beers, after throwing his own empty through the open teatop. "Kick ass, Fay!" he shouted, as Fay gave him a smile that dazzled in the hellfire glow from the instrument panel, and a long, wet kiss in exchange for the beer. She never once took her foot off the gas, but she never swerved, and she hadn't missed a light yet. There was a flash of headlights in the left lane as a couple of hopped-up metalheads and a chop-top cougar pulled alongside. The driver shouted something, lost in the howl of engines and the screech of feedback. Fay tossed back her head in laughter, rapped on the horn once, contemptuously. Then she gave them the finger and blew the doors off their pitiful poser custom. Deke wondered if his spine was going to have a close encounter with the back seat. The speedometer was in 3 digits by the time his stomach caught up with the rest of him. Sandy howled again, and another bottle hit the pavement behind them. Deke looked back at the cougar eating their dust. For a minute, the guy on the passenger's side looked a little like his buddy Alan. He bit his lip and wondered what Alan was doing tonight, then looked at the bottle in his hand. His conscience awoke and sanity reared its cold, ugly head. What in the hell am I doing here? How did I ever get mixed?